Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Tennis Manager 24. It's episode number 20. The adaptation, the changes continue to come. For a long time, it was just trying to figure out how to find form and how to deal with finances. That's been the overarching theme throughout the series so far. Now, in the last couple of episodes, I'm trying to evolve the team, evolve the performances in other methods. Now, first off, back to day one objectives of finances. Montgomery, we have worked to pick up her form. And no matter how well she does, no matter how deep she gets into tournaments, her form is not going anywhere. With training in between, I'm at least getting her almost neutral, but I just cannot. She's won tournaments, nothing happens. She loses tournaments in the first round, nothing happens. It seems to all just be training based with her. I was chasing consistent performances in weaker tournaments for a long time to keep her within the top 100, and then she falls out anyway. And so the big payday that came from that work, which was your 4 slams, suddenly are non-existent. Without the slams, she's going to take a huge financial hit. The team is going to take a huge financial hit. So I'm working on trying to make up for that. At this point, it feels inevitable that she's leaving us at the end of the season. There's nothing I can do right now to resolve that. She's not happy. She doesn't want to resign. And even if I can get her to somehow want to do that, it's going to come from her performing better. And I just don't see that happening, especially with those lower level tournaments. We've seen the consistency. She can make the quarterfinals, the occasional semifinal, the occasional win. It makes no difference. That being said, I'm going to try throwing her into at least a little back and forth higher tournaments, better payouts. So I accepted a qualifier for a 500 tournament. She goes out in the second round of the qualifier. She doesn't even make the tournament proper, but we get a fairly healthy payout of nearly 7K. So following that up, when a tournament like this comes along and offers a full position, not even a qualifier, to a 250, that's good payout, kind of regardless of what we do. So we're going to accept that for Montgomery. Following her first junior slam title, Martina King is number 2 in the junior rankings, which is not quite, but an almost assured 1 seed, certainly an assured top 2 seed for every tournament at this stage. 300 level tournament, obvious 1 seed now, and let's see what she can do. The first couple rounds will look pretty favorable. Pete in the quarterfinals. Let's see if that's even the matchup. Straight to the quarterfinals, and it is the matchup. It's us and Pete, and looking at another pretty difficult semifinal if we get there. Easy match, should be all right. We beat her the one time we played her before, and it took 3 sets, but we've done so again here. Literally exact 50% split of the points. So kind of fortunate that we've moved on. Oosterhout also makes the semifinals, so yet again we have the more difficult matchup possible while the other seeded players are gone from the lower half of the bracket. It's a 24-45 matchup. So when we get through this one, it probably would be an easy final victory. We're looking at a balanced match with a slight advantage. 2-0 all-time against Oosterhout. Both finals victories, 2 sets, 3 sets, all close. I mean, 3 out of the 5 sets they've played against each other have gone to tie breaks. Both of those matches happening this year. Not going to be an easy one, but it's a semifinal, so I'm going to bypass, and we lose to Oosterhout for the first time in 3 sets. 49%, just minus 3 points overall. Identical on the winners, minus 3 on the unforced errors, plus 1 on the forced errors. So the unforced errors being the difference. That is so insanely close, but we are out in the semis. That's okay. That's certainly deep enough in the tournament. There was 3 tournaments played this week, so King collects 1,300 for going out in the semis of a 300 junior. A 70 pro, 1,500 for new player Cross, and Havda makes it to the same round of 16, but lower level tournament, and we only get paid out $697. So Cross, the biggest earner for the week, overall, just a little shy of like $4K. Cross ranked high enough to make the qualifiers for the US Open, or yes, qualifier. Okay. Has made the qualifiers. Meanwhile, Montgomery, who I had applied for the qualifiers, has somehow, through the mix here, been able to be offered a full spot. Enough athletes sitting it out. So instead of getting kicked out entirely for not qualifying, as I was trying to put her through the qualifiers, she's going to get in the tournament proper. So we're going to get that $33K for Montgomery, and we've got a good payout coming from Cross as well. We're going to very quickly make up for the $30K prize money, which somebody did confirm. Thank you for that. That the $30K did come out. It just kind of got offset by some prize winnings that came in at the same time. But it looks like Cross is going to have that $30K paid off rather quickly. And at that point, it becomes inevitable, as we were getting about $600 every couple weeks when it came to Nagunye. Cross will easily surpass that probably before September. So losing in the semifinal of a 300 level tournament has destroyed King's form. I've trained technical almost every time, and she had +2s on everything. She loses a semifinal, and this happens. I mean, it's gone. It's just wiped out. In fact, it's completely neutral across the board. She has a -2 bonus on timing. She has a +1 on forehand and backhand consistency. So she is at dead neutral after one semifinal loss. 2 deep runs in tournaments so far for Cross, and yet her form is also falling away. So there's definitely something larger going on, because in every single tournament, in every single matchup, one player moves on, one player is done. First round, 50% of your competition is eliminated. By the second round, 75% of your competition is eliminated, because half move on and half don't. And that trend continues. You go to 88%, right? Immediately after that, after the third round. You're down to the last just over 10% of the field. If you are making it into that, right? If form is based on performance, and it certainly is to an extent, if form is based on performance, getting through 2 rounds, getting through especially 3 rounds, should be boosting form. Do the math, right? You can't have one player in the entire world be in form, because everybody else is losing tournaments to that one player. You've got to have some sort of threshold, and it would seem logical that somewhere around that 75 or 88 percentile of performers within a tournament should be having solid boosts to their form, should be increasing. That's already a very small percentage of all the players in the world. And if losing is hurting your form, it certainly can't be second round exits or third round exits or semifinal exits having your form drop. That makes no sense, right? The reality is there should be 3 distinct sets of how form is impacted based on tournament performance. If you are making a deep run, you are improving form. If you're doing okay, you get through a round or you get through 2 rounds, your form should be neutral. And if you're making first round exits, your form should drop. It should be that simple. It really should be that simple. And doing the math, right? 50% are out in the first round. So that should be the only time. That should be the only time that form drops. Because half of all the players out there are going to lose in the first round. So to have a semifinal hurt form, to have a quarterfinal for Kayla Cross hurt her form, like, there's going to be nobody left. There's going to be no players in the world that have good form, if that's what it comes down to. Now, I think the reality is they've got that completely wrong. Like, flat out, it is coded horribly if a semifinal or a quarterfinal exit is lowering a player's form. Makes absolutely no sense with math. But more than that, if you're having to compensate, if it's not just coming down to tournament performance, but it's also coming down to training, preparation, as it should. The training and preparation piece should be making up for it. And I think this is where our problem really starts to show up. We have really poor facilities. We have really poor coaching staff. And I think that combination is hurting our compensation for how tournament form is impacted. It's absurd to have deep runs hurt your form. Makes no sense. If you're going to take second round exits and hurt form, that's harsh, right? That's 75% of the athletes that enter the competition. That's very harsh if 3/4 are seeing their form drop. Bear with me. I've already gone on a while here. This is me spitballing and doing math and trying to make this make sense in my head. First round exits, automatic form drop. All of them. That's half. Training is supposed to make up for that, compensate for that, be good enough for half of those athletes to at least recover and stabilize and not see form fall off if they go in and properly train in the weeks to follow. That right there gives you 1/4 of all your field having actual form drops. That gives you 1/4, that second quarter, staying relatively neutral. But then second round exits. That's the next quarter of the field, right? From that quarter, I would think that there would be chances. Dice roll, nothing automatic. If you make a second round exit, half of those will see that form drop. Again, training. Half are able to recover that, half are not. So this time we're talking 12%. So now we're looking at 37%, or just slightly more than 1/3 of all the athletes will see their form drop following any given tournament, combined with that week or two of training after. So if 1/3 of the athletes are struggling with form, to me that makes sense. I think if you're getting to the third round or beyond, there should be a 0% chance of your form decreasing. You've won 2 matches. Half of all athletes will lose every single match, right? There's a winner and a loser, whether you go out through injury or not, right? It's still going to be the same application of that rule. But third round and beyond, you are already so deep into a tournament. You're already into that top 12% of competitors within that tournament, within all tournaments. And it just, the mathing doesn't math. I think at the same time, as I was saying, there should be 3 categories, right? Form drop, form stable, form increase. I think if that second round, right, half drop, half stay, by the third round, half stay, half increase form. Fourth round and beyond, everybody should have improved form. everybody should have a boost to their form. And so now you're getting down to a much smaller window of athletes that have an increase to their form, right? Because we're talking, it was at the 88% where half of them increase, and then from the next round beyond, everybody increases. That means, I don't know, maybe 10%. So 10% improve form. 1 out of 10 athletes. Certainly better than where it seems to be the only way to improve form is to win a tournament. The one athlete who does. I guess there's more than one tournament happening at the same time, but the only way to improve your form is to win a tournament? Like, that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, enough of my rant. Sorry. If you've stuck with me through that one, please let me know in the comments below where you're at on my thought process. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What is your thoughts on that? How do you think that should be? How do you think form should be impacted? How much of form should come down to training? How much of form should come down to facilities and coaching staff? How much of form should come down to something internal with the athlete? Kayla Cross is adventuresome, determined, and competitive. Where within that is there a bonus or a negative to form impact? But in just a few short weeks, it's already quite clear that Kayla Cross, who came in with very, very good form, it's fallen off rather quickly. And she's had 2 good tournaments with minimum quarterfinal runs in each of them. Montgomery's second round exit in a 160. She's the only one who's competed so far this week. Others are training, but that's 4,400, and this is kind of what I'm going for with her right now. I've given up trying to make Montgomery perform at a level that I just cannot seem to get her to perform at, so I'll take the cash. For King, it's time to get back after the senior circuit. She's going to come into a 2-round qualifier, and this is it. This is all we have to go up against. She is just a few spots off the ranking. Well, really all of them are in a very, very similar place, so they've only picked up a few points across the board. 2 wins and you are in. First matchup is balanced with a slight edge. They've never played each other. 6-4, 6-3, plus 12 on the winners, and plus 14 on points overall. 3 weeks from now, my 1-year contract as the junior women's head coach begins for the U.S. Now it's time to select which athletes I'm going to bring. First off, Martina King is the highest ranked and highest quality. Penikova, so Annika and Christina, both 16 years of age, come in as the others with highest quality. So they seem to be obvious selections. Beyond that, Oosterhout, who just beat King very recently, is a little bit higher ranked senior circuit wise, would apparently be the other one. Jalfrit was in the competition last year, but I don't know if Jalfrit is good enough to be there, but definitely has the form. I think realistically you can never have too many, so we're going to go ahead and pick Jalfrit. We might not use her. That 7 seed who's ranked just above us, Gavria. Gavria is who we're going to be up against, and is that matchup, it's balanced. We are outsider, just barely. So it's a very close matchup, really could go either way. Do we qualify for the tournament? We do not. 4-6, 4-6. We are out. We were plus on winners, but we were 2 points behind overall. Unforced errors is what cost us in this one, as we were -8 in that department, while +3 in the forced errors. Too many mistakes. One thing I have been able to do of late this season with Nagunye and now with Cross as well, keep everybody in top form physically, keep morale pretty high, and then it's just been battling form, and we're seeing it fall away. King, I've got it to bounce back, and that's where I'm starting to wonder if the coaching, how much of that is coaching, and if I start bouncing between the athletes, will King fall off? Can I get the others to come up? Hard to say. Montgomery out in the round of 16, Havda out in the round of 16 of their tournaments. Cross New York Open, first qualifier, she loses in the second. So she doesn't make the tournament proper. We're not going to get that roughly 33,000, which I think her percentage is lower anyway. But she does make the second qualifier. That'll come with a bit of payout. We'll see here in just a second how much. King have managed to pick up a serve consistency point, now double digits, forehand consistency as well. Montgomery, her payout for a higher level tournament, just making the second round, was 11,700. I've also gone pretty heavy in knowing that I'm going to kill her form and just give it up on trying to get it, and making use of her ranking while we have it and getting her in as many larger tournaments as we can with just a couple weeks of training. Otherwise, 11,700 payout on that one. Havda, I can't even get her into higher level tournaments. The highest I can get her to entered into because of her rank, which is fallen off to absolutely nothing, is the second tier, the 25s. So the last portion of the season will be a bunch of 25s so that she can at least get us to 1,000 instead of 700. Cross, second qualifier, 17k, 47% actually. That's not bad. So 17k, that's a good payout. That's a good combination. We were nearly 400k in debt. It's back down to 355, but we are coming up on the end of August and only one slam left. And you know, actually, this is that last slam too, right? This was the qualifier for it. We're a week away, but we're going to get at least one more payout here next week with Montgomery, and then we've got the junior one, which, you know, even if we get another win with King, isn't going to pay out particularly well. I feel like episode by episode, I figure this game out more and more and more, like understanding the under the hood, what's going on, because with the difficulty ratcheted up to the hardest, you've really got to know the ins and outs to make it work, and I didn't start that way. I knew how the game functioned more or less the last few years, but not to the extent that I needed to, and especially with the new training system and the new form system, I've been finding out more and more. It's 2026 already. I mean, we've gone through 2.5+ years, almost 3 years now, and I'm still figuring out the little finer details. And the more I figure them out, the more I'm getting frustrated, and the more I'm like, okay, let's do this. And then, you know, it helps by 1%. It's just like, I feel like we were 50% there, and episode by episode we're getting 1% closer, in which case we'd be at 70% of max capacity right now. So we got a ways to go yet. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.